Today we are continuing our study through Jesus' Beatitudes. We've come to the fifth of them. These Beatitudes are statements that Jesus gives on how we, as his followers, can live a blessed life, how we can experience a true happiness, the happiness that God has designed for us. It's a way for us to reshape our understanding of the world, because this happiness that we think we are striving for is far different than the happiness that God has set up for us. In the Beatitudes, they give us a way of looking at the world in a different way. It's having an attitude of how we should be as followers of Jesus. And so for the past 4 weeks, we've talked about these different attitudes that we need to have, or these attitudes that we need to be. And they are having the attitude of being poor in spirit, or being of people who mourn, being meek and hungering and thirsting for righteousness. And so now we've come to the fifth Beatitude, this fifth statement of blessing. And it seems like it should be pretty straightforward. It says, "Blessed are the merciful. Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy." It feels like I could just simply wrap up this sermon by charging you to go and show mercy, as you have been shown mercy. And we can leave as it is and go out, have some lunch, go watch some football, and have a good day. Because it seems almost straightforward, common sense. God blesses the merciful by showing them mercy. Or we can think about it as God blesses the good by offering them goodness. And God blesses those who are kind by offering them kindness. But if we think about it, there's a few questions we need to wrestle with in this Beatitude. The first, of course, is what is mercy? And what does it mean for us to be merciful, or how we can show mercy? And then we think about it, is this a transactional statement that the only way to receive mercy is to show mercy to others? And if it is a transactional statement, then does God only extend mercy to those people who do show mercy? And if mercy is earned, then is it really mercy in the first place? And if we think about that, if we kind of relate mercy and grace, as we've just sung about earlier, God's amazing grace, then is grace transactional? And if it is transactional, what does that say about the foundation of our Christian faith? And that then leads to even more questions as we look at this Beatitude. Because then, if God says, "Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy," is the opposite true? Is the opposite of it, those who are unmercy will not be shown, or those who are unmerciful not be shown mercy, or those who are not good will have no goodness shown to them, or those who are unkind, will they receive no kindness from God? So perhaps this Beatitude that we've been looking at isn't as straightforward as we thought from the first place. This idea of mercy actually is kind of a two-sided coin, right? Two sides of the same coin. We think there's a heads and a tails. You see, the head or the tails could be about not giving someone what they deserve, while the head side is giving someone what they do not deserve. And it seems kind of confusing, a little bit of wordplay, but let's try to break it down even further. It says, so this tail side, not giving someone what they deserve. This is like being shown pardon to a person, right? Where you're not facing the punishment or the consequences of your sinfulness or your selfish acts. For example, let's say after church I left here and I went out and I stole a car. Eventually I would be found out, the cops would arrest me, and I don't know what the standard rate is for stealing a car, grand theft auto or whatever, maybe 10 to 20 years in prison. Now, if when arrested and gone to court, I cry out to the court, have mercy on me. Don't give me what I deserve. I ask the court to show me mercy, to have mercy on me, and not to send me away to prison, to pardon my offense. You see, this is kind of the mercy that God extends his people through Jesus on the cross. We know that the Bible says that the wages of sin is death, that the cost of our sin is eternal separation from God. But we also know that the Bible is abundantly clear that God is rich in mercy, that God loves us so much that he wanted a way to help us along. He pardons our sin. He does that by him taking that very punishment on himself when Jesus came to the cross. This is what Darrell Johnson says. He says, Jesus looked upon himself, or took upon himself our sin. Jesus took upon himself the awful judgment we deserve. The holy God does not give us what we deserve. He gives himself what we deserve. That Jesus gave himself our punishment for our sin. That's a powerful thing. Then we think about the opposite or the flip side of this in mercy. In the head side, it's giving someone what they do not deserve. Another way of looking at it is extending kindness. When you show kindness to people in need, when you're being merciful to someone, it is seeing a need and seeking a way to bring help to that need. Last week we talked about Mimi and her great-grandson who was adopted by his aunt. This baby was born to parents who were drug addicts and who really didn't want anything to do with him. And his aunt saw that, and she had mercy on this child. This child did nothing to deserve any special favor, but this family, they wanted to provide a safe home and a loving family because this baby, they just wanted to show special favor. That is what it means to have mercy on this person. Darrell Johnson says that Jesus extends kindness to us who are in great need, who are utterly helpless. Jesus extends pardon to us who are in the wrong, who owe a debt we can never pay. We were crushed beneath a horrible debt, and Jesus canceled it. Jesus, as he walked the earth, he taught us all about God's mercy, God's kindness and pardon. He used his life as an example, but he also taught us, especially in many of the stories taught, these parables, which teach us about God's mercy and kindness towards humanity. We see it in the story of the Good Samaritan. Here is a person, a Samaritan, who is the arch enemy of this man who is injured, a Jewish man. And this Samaritan extends kindness and cares for this person who is injured. Or we think about the story of the prodigal son, the son who squandered away his family inheritance. And when he came home, the father welcomed him back and cared for him and loved him. And then there's a story Jesus tells in Matthew chapter 18. It's called the parable of the unmerciful servant. And in this, we see a man who doesn't understand what mercy is. This man has been shown mercy, but he doesn't realize it. And he doesn't understand that this is a way, by this mercy, by him giving and receiving mercy, is a way for him to experience true happiness. Let's take a look at this story. You might wonder how I ended up here in this dungeon. To be honest, it's kind of an embarrassing story. The quick version is that I owed a debt. I owed a debt to the bank and I couldn't pay it. And where I come from, when you can't pay a debt to the bank, you've got problems. They send you off to pay your debt to what we call debtor's prison. Because instead of accepting cash, now they're going to take it out in blood and sweat and tears. Well, it started out innocent enough. I just needed a little extra cash to help pay the bills one month, and so I asked the bank for some help. Now, of course, I was short on money because, well, I lost some of my money at the horse races. And so, but also, I had this tendency to spend more than I could afford. And that's not a bad thing, because you know what? You want to look good. You want to dress to impress. And so nice clothes, a good house, a great set of wheels is all an investment in your image. And I was sure that it was going to pay off in the long run. Now, of course, was working at this job that really wasn't sustaining my lifestyle. So I decided as well, it was time to quit that job, and hold out for a management position. I wanted something with a higher salary and less hours. And I knew that sooner or later I would find that right job. But in the meantime, I know I could borrow some money from the bank to help me stay afloat. And they didn't seem to mind loaning me money. Then, in the meantime, I was beginning to realize I was borrowing more and more money. But I figured out a way to pay it off. A friend told me there was a surefire bet that would triple my money. I didn't have the money at the time, so I just took a little bit more out from the bank, but I was certain that once this bet was made, I would be rolling in the dough, and I would easily pay back the bank and then have a little extra to spare. Now, you won't believe what happened. You probably will. This surefire winner, this horse that was guaranteed to win, came in last. Dead last. Now, I know I am a gambler, but I didn't know if I should walk away or run. And each day, this debt that I paid was becoming larger and larger. And each day was getting further and further away from being able to pay it off. And so I knew that one day the bank would call me up and say it was time to pay. But I also knew I'm a pretty smooth talker. Some people say I can sell a ketchup popsicle to a woman in white gloves. Now, I don't really know what that means, but I know I have been able to talk my way out of a problem here or there. And with my charming wit and my beautiful smile, I knew I'd be able to buy myself some time. No pun intended. And so finally, I end up in front of the banker, ready to plead my case. "Oh, great and kind banker," I said. Now, sure, maybe I was laying on pretty thick, but I knew it would impress him. "Great and kind banker, please be patient with me. I know my debt is substantial, but I will find a way to pay you. Please have mercy on me." As I stood there talking to the banker, I really didn't want mercy as much as I wanted acquittal. I wanted to justify my poor choices and escape the consequences for my bad behavior. I was like a child saying that I'm sorry, just hoping to escape punishment, but not really accepting the responsibilities for my actions. But as I stood there in front of the banker begging for mercy, I thought that maybe this banker would pardon a small portion of debt, cut my debt in half maybe, or at least allow me to to pay small monthly payments that were interest-free. But to my surprise, unbelievably, the banker decided to wipe away my debt. He canceled it. I was given something I didn't really deserve. I should have been sent away. I should have been sent to the dungeons, to work camp, to pay off all that I owed. But the banker had mercy on me. He pardoned my debt, and I was free. I know maybe you're wondering, or maybe like, if I was granted clemency, if I was pardoned for my debt, then why am I here? Why am I here in this dungeon? Sometimes, though, we don't learn our lesson until it's too late. Or maybe it's right on time. See, I was forgiven this massive debt, a debt that was too great for me, but the truth is, I didn't really learn anything from that. Because after leaving the banker, I was excited that my debt was so clear. I was a free man. I could do what I wanted. And so I was off to the racetrack to celebrate. Problem was, I didn't really have any money. But as luck would have it, an old colleague began to pass by me, and I recognized it was someone I had loaned money to. He had been in a rough spot. Apparently his wife had been sick, and he needed some money to help pay off the medical bills. And so as he passed by me, I grabbed him, "Hey man, you owe me money. Pay me the money that you owe me." And he looked at me and he said, "Please, just be patient with me. I'll pay you back as soon as I can." "No way," I said. "I need it now. I need that money." And he was like, "No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, my friend. I can't do it. My wife is still in the hospital. I have no way to pay you back right now." Now, the ironic thing is that the money that I had used to loan him was the debt that had just been forgiven. But I wasn't going to tell him that. I wasn't wanting him to know that. And I know what you're thinking. This is exactly what I was pleading to the banker just a few hours earlier. I was pleading, "Please be patient with me. Have mercy on me." And I should have seen the parallels between my situation and what was going on here, but I was blinded by my own greed. I should have realized that I had been given a fresh start, and I should extend that kindness to others. But I was on the way to the trap, and I needed to place a bet today. So finally, I grabbed him and I said, "No, you need to pay me now." And I threw him to the ground, and I said, and he was like, "No, please, please." And I was like, "No, you need to pay me my money now, and if you don't have it, then it's off to debtor's prison for you. I'll get my money from you one way or another." Little did I know that the confrontation that I was having with this man was drawing a crowd. People were stopping on the streets and peering out of their windows. They were starting to see, though, that I was not someone to be trifled with. I don't know who did, but eventually someone out there called the police. And when they got there, I was glad to see them. I was ready for them to haul this degenerate away. If he wasn't going to pay me back, then I was going to get what I deserved from him. But what I didn't expect was the police were there to arrest me. They were there to haul me off. "What are you thinking? What are you doing? Put me down," I said. "I'm innocent. It's this man. He needs to be arrested. He owes me money." But all of a sudden, I'm being pulled away, and I find myself back in front of the banker. The banker looked me in the eyes, and he said, "You wicked, evil man. Did you not realize why I forgave you such a massive debt?" "Because you're naive," is what I was thinking. I mean, if I didn't dare say that, why would somebody really forgive me or anyone such an insurmountable debt? I guess I thought I was very convincing in my plea for him. The banker said to me, I forgave you all of your debt that you owed me because you begged for mercy. And so shouldn't you have shown mercy to others as I have shown mercy to you? Before I could even respond, I was taken away and thrown into this dungeon here, into debtor's prison. And for a while, I was bitter. I was angry. What gave that banker the right to treat me in such a way? It's not my fault. It wasn't my fault. It was the banker's fault. He's the reason I was here in prison. If they would only have listened to reason, he would have understood. What gave the banker that right to do this? It took me some time sitting in the cell, wallowing in my own self-pity. But after a while, as I sat here, the words of the banker began to play over and over my head. He said, shouldn't you have mercy on others as I have had mercy on you? And I realized I didn't know a single thing about mercy. I didn't understand it at all. I thought mercy was getting away with something. Being able to be free of the consequences of your actions, letting someone get away with their crimes. That is what I thought mercy was. It really seemed like a weakness to me, something that I would be able to exploit, but not something I would ever give to someone else. But after being thrown in prison, I realized that my understanding of mercy was faulty. I heard that it was said, mercy points in two directions, kindness and pardon. Mercy is extending kindness to the helpless and pardon to the guilty. When I think about my interactions back with my old colleague, they see he needed money. He needed money to care for his ailing wife. Even more than money, he needed someone to show him kindness, to let him know that he wasn't alone in this world, that he had some help. But I was simply using him. I was using him to my own advantage. He was a means to an end. And when I saw him on the street, I was looking out for my own selfish desires instead of seeing the overwhelming helplessness of this man in front of me. I saw someone that I could exploit. But only if I had understood what mercy was. I understood the kindness that was extended to me, that I should then extend kindness to others. I could have asked how his wife was doing. I could have offered to help in any way possible. I could have shown him kindness by offering a listening ear, but I was unable and unwilling to do that. This just showed me that I had lost touch with who I was created to be. I didn't understand that the true happiness that would come from a life of mercy. And sitting here in this cell, I learned more about mercy than I ever had. I never understood the weight of all my debt until I was here in prison. I'll have to be honest, I wasn't fully honest with you before. You see, the amount of money that I owed the bank was more significant. I don't even understand how I accumulated such a debt. It was over 20 years' wages. I mean, the interest alone was unbelievable. The truth is, no matter how hard I worked, no matter how hard I would try to pay off that debt, I would be caught in it forever. It's a vicious cycle that I would never escape. each day, the weight of this insurmountable debt was suffocating my soul, even though I didn't realize it. I think back to that day when the banker offered to pardon my debt. If I only had understood what the banker was doing. I had accrued this massive debt through my own carelessness and my own immature spending. So there was no reason at all why I should have been pardoned. And even though mercy was extended to me, I really didn't understand it. I was unable to extend mercy to others. That even though I was granted mercy, I never really accepted that mercy because I was unwilling to extend it to others. In some strange way, being sent here to this dungeon was an act of mercy. It helped me understand that there was an overwhelming debt that I owed. That there was a kindness that had been alluded to me that I was unable to really receive. And even in this dungeon, as I sit here day in and day out, I no longer go through my day expecting others to do things for me, to grant me some sort of favor. I simply look for the need around me and find ways to offer help. See, mercy, extending mercy is a life of risk. We risk ourselves in order to show kindness and pardon to others. We'll never really experience true happiness, true fulfillment in life without understanding mercy. And so if you want to be blessed, if you want to be happy, truly happy, the way God has designed us to be happy, then you need to be merciful, to show mercy, because mercy has been shown to you. All of us, everyone here, has an overwhelming debt that they cannot pay. The wages of our sin is astronomical. The debt that keeps us unchained and unhappy to our self-centered lives. But God's mercy has broken into our world. Jesus has pardoned our sin and canceled our debts. It's His kindness that leads us to repentance. It's His mercy that enables us to know and express mercy to others. And His mercies are new every morning. Great is thy faithfulness. Jesus said, "Blessed are those who are merciful, for they will be shown mercy." God blesses those who are full of mercy, who are merciful because they begin to understand and express God's amazing mercy to others. Blessed are those who are merciful, for they will be shown mercy.